now come to the end of this important dialogue of Southern partners. For the first time, South-South development cooperation partners from both governments and academia have come together in this format to discuss issues of common concern and interest. Importantly, this dialogue is truly self-driven and self-supported by the partners themselves. On behalf of the Under Secretary General for DESA, Mr. Wu Hongbo, I would like to extend the sincere gratitude of the department to the Government of India and the Research and Information System for Developing Countries for the initiative and leadership in organizing and supporting this dialogue. I would also particularly like to extend special thanks to Sachin and his team, who spared no efforts to make this dialogue so well organized and productive. Ladies and gentlemen, over the past year and a half, a broad consensus has begun to emerge on the key principles of South-South cooperation, the issues that need to be addressed, and the next steps in advancing this important process. There is a strong recognition that South-South development cooperation emanates from a distinct historical context, which explains its voluntary nature. It was emphasized that the growth experienced in South-South development cooperation should not weaken the commitments and responsibilities of developed countries in promoting development in developing countries. Guided by this historical context and principles, and driven by certain providers themselves, I would like to highlight several issues that need to be addressed to advance the South-South cooperation agenda. Firstly, the rapid growth in South-South cooperation requires greater effort by Southern partners in arriving at a common and acceptable definition of the term South-South development cooperation. This is essential if we want to make both policy dialogue and norm setting in this area more productive. Second, good practices in South-South development cooperation should be further studied and disseminated with a view to informing the global development agenda. For example, speed and quality of delivery, cost efficiency, focus on partner countries, as well as non-interference in domestic affairs have been frequently mentioned as particular strengths of South-South cooperation. Thirdly, evidence-based analysis needs to be strengthened by the Southern partners with a view to facilitating peer learning in policy making and more effective delivery tools. Think tanks and academia can play a major role in this regard. Fourthly, there is a strong drive for Southern parties to strengthen collaboration and coordination in key global development discussions, particularly post-2015 agenda. Fifthly, the support of multilateral institutions for South-South cooperation needs to be mainstreamed in the strategy and delivery mechanisms. In this regard, certain partners should better articulate their expectations about the role of multilaterals and the institutional reforms that are required in this context. Ultimately, South-South development cooperation should evolve within its own paradigm. The development of frameworks for standards with a view to ensuring better impact and sustainability of South-South development cooperation are an essential part of this process, but they must be developed by Southern partners themselves rather than imposed on them from the outside. Now let me identify the way forward that we have been discussing here the whole day today. All of you agree that this dialogue should continue beyond general discussions with a view to yielding tangible outputs and results. We have mentioned a few concrete deliverables that can emerge from this process. For example, best practices applicable to global development cooperation, frameworks and methodologies to evaluate South-South development cooperation, We have also strongly emphasized that this process should be one that is inclusive of all Southern partners. Therefore, before I close my remarks, I would like to highlight a few concrete steps planned as a follow-up to this Conference of Southern Partners. Firstly, UNDESA is organizing a meeting of Directors General of Southern Partners in Ethiopia on 7 June, which will take place back-to-back with the high-level symposium on development cooperation. The meeting of Directors General is expected to carry forward many of the ideas and proposals that have emerged here in Delhi and set in motion concrete actions. Secondly, I would like to mention that there is some interest in organizing a second follow-up dialogue of Southern partners later this year. And we will revert to you with details on that meeting. And thirdly, the issue of Southern development cooperation will feature prominently in the 2014 DCF in July next year. These follow-up meetings share a common objective, namely to provide a platform for Southern partners, as Ambassador Shyam Sir mentioned. In that sense, I believe this conference in Delhi may be seen as a starting point of an important process. And the conference specifically strict arrangements and frameworks for its success will develop organically through this intensified dialogue of Southern partners. And let me assure you, UNDESA's continued support for this process. Thank you very much.